I'm sure you've tried to quit smoking many times and you've discovered that there's a real conflict inside, a real struggle. Now, over 15 years ago, I stumbled across a technique to make mental cravings disappear, and I've helped my clients during that time to quit smoking without willpower, therefore without struggle. In other words, I've helped them eliminate cravings. And when you eliminate cravings, it's just a free choice. So today we are going to, number one, understand what cravings really are. And then we're going to understand what causes cravings. Is it nicotine? Is it thoughts? Is it events in your life? Is it emotions? Is it your brain? And then we're going to look at the conscious and the subconscious activity of the brain that's related to causing you to have cravings. And then we're going to talk about how we can change that. And along the way, I'm going to then unveil the protocol for you to eliminate cravings and also to transform your subconscious mind so that you don't have conflict when you're trying to quit. And then I'm going to give you the next steps after this video. And one of those is I'm going to give you free access to a resource in my community that you will then be able to use to implement and support you in achieving your goal of quitting smoking. So first of all, let's talk about cravings, because if you didn't have cravings, think about it. When you don't have cravings, you're not pushed into smoking. So if you didn't have cravings, just imagine you never had a craving again. It would just be when the thought of smoking came, it'd just be a choice. You could choose without being pushed into it. Now, I know some of you are saying that, well, plenty of times I just smoke and I don't even realize I'm doing it. It's just there in my hand, or I'm just realize I'm smoking. It's just autopilot and there's no craving prior to that. Well, that's true, but that's when your brain is in autopilot and you're not trying to quit. There's no attempt to interrupt that autopilot function. It all changes when you want to quit and you do interrupt that autopilot function. You do get cravings every single time. So that's what we're talking about. It's quitting is different to just everyday smoking, okay? And when we're going into the quitting phase, you definitely do get cravings, and cravings are the thing that pushes you back into smoking, correct? So just imagine if you didn't have cravings. You literally wouldn't need to smoke anymore. Now in order to teach you how to eliminate cravings, what we've got to do is understand what cravings are. Like, what causes cravings? Is it nicotine? Is it the drug? Well, we know that it's not the drug. Why? Because when somebody quits the drug, it's all out of your system in 10 days. But you know plenty of people, and even yourself, who've had cravings for many months, even years and decades after you quit. So that means there's no drug in your system, but you've still got cravings. So that means it can't be the drug causing you to have cravings, because there's no drug in your system after 10 days. So it's not the drug that's causing the cravings. So the next thing you might wonder about are thoughts causing cravings. And that's a reasonable thing to think, because whenever a craving occurs, you do think of smoking, right? But in actual fact, it's not true. Thoughts don't cause cravings either. And that's because you can have the thought of smoking but not have a craving. For example, if you've smoked 10 cigarettes in a row and then you think about having another one, you don't have a craving, do you? And also, if thoughts of smoking caused a person to have cravings, then anybody, even non-smokers who got the thought of smoking, their brain would cause them to have a craving, right? But that's not true. So you can have a thought to smoke but not have a craving. So it's not the thoughts producing the cravings either. So is it events, like external events in your life? Like if you feel bored, or if someone, upsets you, or if you get a shock, some event occurs, like someone pulls in front of you in the traffic, or you get, say, a strong emotional event, somebody passes away, or you have to change jobs suddenly, or any sort of event, even if it's just having a meal after a meal or waking up in the morning. There's all these routine events in your life, and you think, well, you know, if I didn't have those events, I wouldn't think about smoking, therefore I wouldn't smoke, and therefore I wouldn't get cravings. But in actual fact, it's true that your daily routine does coincide with certain events, but you can be completely outside of your normal routine, and like on holidays or whatever, and you might not think of smoking at the same times, but you definitely get cravings, don't you? You get on the plane, you get off the plane, and you have a massive craving. So events can either be there or not there, and even if you don't have any events, like if you're just at home, enjoying yourself, watching a movie all day or whatever, and there's nothing really going on, you'll still get cravings to smoke. So it's not the events, even though they can coincide, they're not actually a cause. And again, you could say that if certain events cause someone to smoke, then even a non-smoker would have cravings when certain events, like waking up in the morning occurred. But it doesn't happen like that. It's just your brain's linked certain events to the thought of smoking. But then it's after that you get the craving. So events by themselves don't cause you to smoke either. Now, what about changes in your brain? Because this is, we know that there are changes in our brain after you smoke for a period of time. So, is it these changes in the brain that are causing cravings? Well, after someone stops smoking, we know those changes in the brain revert back to normal. So, but you still have cravings, don't you? Even years later. So that means that even though the brain's changed back, you're still getting cravings. So it's not purely changes in your brain. So there's something else going on here that's really not taken into account by the mainstream methods and the mainstream understanding of addiction and smoking in particular. And that is the role of the subconscious in producing cravings. And we know now that there's two parts of your brain that are very tied up with addiction. That is your fight or flight system and your reward system. And these are part of the hindbrain, and they usually activated in an emergency to save you, for survival. But they also get triggered and activated many times a day because of what their purpose and role is. And I'll explain each individually. So the fight or flight system is designed to sense danger and something that would cause you pain and suffering and keep you away from that. So even emotional suffering is seen as by the fight or flight system as something that it needs to get involved in if you consciously don't handle it. So when it comes to smoking, there's one type of suffering that occurs when you delay, isn't there? When you delay smoking, you get cravings and you get irritable. You could get fearful or anxious even. You could get annoyed. And that's a form of suffering. It's actually bizarrely produced by the addiction itself. But your fight or flight system jumps in and tries to save you from that by pushing you into having a cigarette. And when you also have other strong emotional events, the fight or flight system jumps in, like if you're sad or if you're angry or if you're grieving or if you're, let's say, bored even, your fight or flight system jumps in really subtly and pushes you into having a cigarette to change your state of being from bored to okay, from sad to okay, all right, from angry to peaceful. So we know that nicotine doesn't really change those states of being completely and permanently, but it does take the edge off a little bit, and that's the best the subconscious can do at that time because there's no other options, that's being offered by the conscious mind. So whenever these states of being occur, the fight or flight system's triggered. Now, the subconscious is designed to take over in an emergency. I mean, if you're being chased by a wild animal, your fight or flight system will either make you run away and hide or fight. Both of those get you away from the danger, destroy the danger if you fight, or get you away from the danger by running and hiding. So that's the fight or flight system, and it's designed to take over from the conscious mind, which is why the urges and the cravings seem so overwhelming, and that's why the conscious mind can't control it. It's why you feel out of control. On the other side, you've got the reward system. Now, the reward system is all about getting pleasure. So this is why people have a cigarette to reward themselves after they've done something, or why when you're celebrating or having a good time, you want to even have a better time. So you want to have a cigarette. Different people, some people are more motivated by the reward system, and other people are more motivated by the fight or flight system, but both generally operate. And these are very deep subconscious drivers that are designed to take over from the conscious mind. And that's why, even though you know consciously that you don't want to smoke and you want to control your activity by not smoking, in the end, the subconscious takes over. And that's why it seems so bewildering and confusing. And you can be in control in all sorts of other areas of your life, but when it comes to this, the subconscious keeps taking over. Now, why does the subconscious keep taking over? Well, we've talked about the subconscious monitoring your state of being, whether you're having pain and suffering or whether you're having pleasure. So that's what these two systems are trying to monitor and trying to maintain you in a state of equilibrium, a state where you are not having pain and maybe at least having some pleasure or at least no pain. So state of being is very, very important in addiction, particularly the way I understand it. Now, the problem is that, your state of being fluctuates, doesn't it? By when the events of life occur, we naturally and also uncontrollably often have these states of being, usually produced by emotional reactions. And the subconscious has latched on to addiction and smoking as a way of self-regulating that. Now, the reason why the subconscious has latched onto addiction is because the conscious mind hasn't given it any alternative. It hasn't given it a different way to handle these ups and downs of life. And then you get caught into that cycle. So if the conscious mind could learn how to regulate your state of being, then that would create a stable alternative to addiction. And then you could retrain the subconscious, you could transform your mind and switch over to this new skill, this new way of changing your state of being, of self-regulating, rather than the subconscious having to step in and use addiction. So that's really what we want to do. So we now know that cravings are being produced by the subconscious, by these two systems. And we know also that it's not the drug nicotine that is causing you to smoke, thankfully. And that's out of your system within 10 days. Actually, 80% is out in 3 days. So it's all the other powerful reactions that go on, which are produced by the subconscious to keep you safe. In other words, to keep changing your state of being away from suffering to either just generally okay or even having pleasure. Now, what we want to do is in order to quit smoking, you really need two types of skill. You need an immediate ability to take away the mental craving when it occurs, because that's a specific phenomena produced by the subconscious. It's kind of this urgency and a feeling, it seems like a feeling in your head that you have to get rid of. And it all happens so quickly, and it also happens along with thoughts and feelings in the body, that you don't have time to really analyze it and understand it, because your frontal cortex, your conscious mind's being dampened down by the subconscious. But we really need to understand what's going on there. That's the first skill you need, the skill to handle cravings, both mental cravings and physical cravings. So I'll go into that now, and then we'll talk about how to change your state of being, how to regulate your state of being. Now, I have done another video, and you'll find it where I go into demonstrating the technique to get rid of mental cravings on the spot. So I do encourage you to go and look at that video as well after this. But right now, I'll just give you a very quick overview of how to handle mental and physical cravings. Now, very briefly, we will go over the mental head check, and then we'll talk about the body check for physical cravings. So these are a skill. Don't expect yourself to master this skill in 5 minutes. It's something that needs to be practiced in a certain sequence. That's laid out in the program but I will tell you how to do that if you want to do that yourself now. So the first thing you do is you practice this technique before you quit smoking. You make sure that you can actually do this, and you experiment and make sure that you can do it when you get cravings before you even try and quit smoking. You're not ready to quit until you've mastered the technique, till you can make the mental cravings disappear when you have a craving. So mental cravings occur in your head. They're mental. Now, they're a unique phenomenon almost. It's not a thought like I've explained already. I won't go into the detail of what the craving really is. I'll just demonstrate for you how to investigate. So what you want to do is find out the truth of where that craving is located in your head. So basically just do it now, feel in the middle of your head, right in the middle, right in the center of your head, at the intersection of these 3 points, right? Feel there now, eyes open, and notice it feels blank. Notice that you don't feel anything. And hold that feeling for 30 seconds. Keep focusing there. Now remember, you've got to use your feeling sense. We're not imagining what it's like inside your brain. That'd be a picture, that'd be imagination. Very important, that's a pitfall. It's feeling, using your feeling sense. And it's not a thought. You're not thinking about blank. You're feeling inside your head. And it feels like there's nothing there. It feels spacious. Now, prior to feeling in your head when you've got a craving, you'll just be convinced you've got a mental craving and an urgency. But the moment you check, you find there's nothing there. It's very simple, actually. But you've got to hold it. You don't just check like in a second and then put your attention somewhere else, because it will come back. You've got to hold and linger at least 30 seconds, if not longer. Because what you're doing is you're showing the subconscious that there is no danger here, that the craving is not a problem. Okay? Now, another pitfall is thinking that when the craving goes away, the thought goes away. But we've already said the thought doesn't cause cravings. And the way that you handle that is you basically need to observe the thought to smoke and the blank in your head at the same time. And after a while, you'll get used to the thought being there without the blank changing, without a craving coming back, even though the thought's there. So you'll be retraining your subconscious that just because the thought's there, you don't need to smoke. Okay. Now, the other type of craving is physical cravings. By the way, go back and look at my other video on, cravings, craving techniques. Can you eliminate cravings in seconds in this video, in this YouTube channel? Now, physical cravings are different. They're not like the mental cravings. They don't just disappear on the spot. But what happens is the subconscious amplifies these physical cravings as if they're more than or bigger than they actually really are. And it creates this urgency. It triggers more mental cravings. So there's kind of like this feedback loop that goes on. So what we want to do is use your conscious mind, and again, the feeling sense, to feel the truth. So just feel the mouth, the throat, the chest, and the belly, just straight down the middle. So feel that now. Now, when you have a craving, you'll probably find a feeling somewhere, usually in the mouth or the throat or the chest or the belly. Some people will have it in one place or the other. Some people don't really have them at all. All right. But most people have some cravings, some physical sensations, and you must check. So your routine's going to be head check, body check. So feeling mouth, throat, chest, belly. And if you do find a feeling, you need to linger there and discover the truth of it. Now, you probably won't want to linger there. You'll probably be annoyed with it. You'll probably want it to go away. And really, that is the default fight or flight reaction, this annoyance from the subconscious. You have to, in a sense, continue and persist with your conscious mind to feel the truth. And if you linger and are able to feel the truth, explore what it feels like. How big is it? The location, whether it's inside or just on the surface, and then actually compare it to other feelings in the body, you will find that it's not actually painful. Now, I'm not talking about annoying. Annoying is the fight or flight reaction. I want you to just put that annoyance aside and continue to investigate the truth. And what you'll find is that it's actually a minor sensation compared to other sensations in the body, like the feeling of the seat that you're sitting on. It'll be a minor sensation compared to that feeling. Most other sensations in the body are actually stronger in terms of size and even intensity. Now, I'm not talking about the intensity of annoyance, right? Annoyance is the fight or flight. I'm talking about the actual sensation. I'm using these words very carefully. If you need to hear each word carefully, actual sensation, not annoyance. Okay. Now, again, and over time, you retrain your system to be okay with these feelings, that you don't need these feelings to go away. There's many feelings in the body that are much more intense that you don't need to have this annoyed reaction, this irritated reaction to. Okay, you need to learn to be with the sensation of this physical phenomena, and to the point where it doesn't generate this craving, this urgency. And that's how you basically show the subconscious that everything's okay, that these sensations in the body are okay, and there's no mental craving. Now, this, I'm giving you a whirlwind tour. This can take several weeks to even longer, 2 months, it can for some people, to really learn this and prepare before you attempt to quit smoking. All right, so you need to practice this daily. And then when you feel like you've got these techniques strong enough, you test them. You test them with your, against your cravings. Now, that is a phase I call the trial phase or the experimental phase. And then once you realize that you can eliminate each craving, no matter where it is in your day, in your week, that's when you know you're ready to quit smoking. And that's when you can either progressively eliminate, just use your skills instead of smoking during certain parts of the day. You can gradually eliminate different parts of the day and different parts of the week, or you can, some people will then just go ahead and quit altogether because they use their skills straight away. If you find that when you're using your skills with the cravings and you're getting this resistance and it's becoming a challenge and it's becoming a fight, that's when willpower is stepping in and you must back off. Okay? You don't want to create this conflict between the conscious and the subconscious. In other words, between willpower and the subconscious. That just means your skills aren't strong enough. So you back off and you keep developing your skills. Okay? Now, the next steps really are that you need to progressively learn this over time. Now, these two techniques, the head check and the body check, they're kind of like the techniques you use when the cravings are occurring. But remember we said that the root problem is your state of being. Okay, this is the underlying boredom or the underlying anxiety or the underlying depression or the underlying lack of purpose or lack of enjoyment of life, this generalized discontent. This root problem has to be dealt with as well as these cravings. Otherwise, your subconscious will just produce another to deal with the root underlying state of being. Now, I've spent quite a bit of time in other videos dealing with explaining this state of being, but in order to retrain and transform your mind so that you can be with this and really transform this state of being into one of deep peace and contentment, which actually does exist within us. And, you know, again, watch my other videos to really get a good picture of that. We do have this within us. And in order to access this, we do need to learn to open our awareness. And this is a whole another topic. But one way that you can learn it is I have a community, and every month I do an awareness practice session together once a month. And, you know, if you're in that community, it's free for the members of that community, as well as many other resources. It's free to join. You just go to truequit.com. You can see that link in the description. You can join. It's free for a period of time, and then it's a negligible, less than a cup of a coffee, I think, if you want to keep going. But and there are other workshops and things that I've done which deal with this underlying state of being. So I do encourage you to put all this together. Watch this video again, okay? So your procedure in the end is going to be head check, body check, and then into your open awareness that brings you into this deeper state of okayness where genuinely you're content and you don't need to smoke in order to be okay. Now, this video does summarize everything. It's like these Chinese, you know, scrolls where that, it's just one page, but it contains, enough to fill volumes. This is kind of like this video. I've really given you the total picture, but each of these sections, you can go deep on. So if you want to learn more, like actually learn from me directly, again, you can join my program and I will actually on a weekly basis, face to face, coach you as well as give you the daily video program that walks you through all of this. But if you don't want to do that you can actually just really spend the time to experiment and learn what I've said here and look at my other videos and put it all together yourself. Anyway, take care. And I really wish you all the best. And you can quit smoking. It is a skill. You just need to practice and learn that. Remember, don't go into conflict with the subconscious. Don't use willpower. Develop the skill. Okay? And your goal, you'll know you've achieved your goal is when you aren't smoking and you don't have any cravings. Okay? If you have cravings after you've quit, it means you haven't transformed the subconscious yet and you need to work on the deeper state of being. All right, take care, and I shall see you either in my community or in the next video. Bye for now.